Halstead, a typical rural English market town. As with many other towns in England, Halstead has its fair share of architectural triumphs and of course failures. There's a trend in most UK towns during the late 60s and early 70s to destroy buildings that were thought to be old and beyond repair. These buildings were then replaced with uninspiring concrete boxes, most of which housed the first generation of short-lived high street supermarkets. Thankfully, high street demolition did not continue on this scale. You could say we learned from our mistakes, but you'd probably be wrong. Before we meander down this architecturally and important side street, let's have a quick lesson about Halstead and the history of its main employer. Courtaulds Halstead was established in 1794. It was a manufacturer of fabric, clothing, artificial fibres and chemicals, and became the world's leading man-made fibre production company before being broken up in 1990 into Courtaulds plc and Courtaulds Textiles Limited. The Courtauld Textiles factory in Halstead closed in 1982, but the family legacy remained in the form of many houses that were built, helping to form, along with many industrial buildings, what is now known as the Courtauld Estate. Along with the focused business minds of many Victorian dynasty, the Courtauld family also went to great lengths to provide homes and other facilities for, in main, their workers. From the early 1870s until the outbreak of the Second World War, they commissioned dozens of houses, together with a hospital, plus various industrial and communal facilities in the town. So, what is the point of this video? There seems to be a mad rush to build as many houses in North Essex as possible. There's major building work taking place in Chelmsford, Colchester, Witham, Braintree and Halstead. Plus there are plans for 3 new towns with no infrastructure in terms of hospitals, doctors, surgeries or railway stations. These new towns, colloquially called garden communities, situated along the A120 corridor, will add another 41,000 homes and a population increase close to 100,000 to the area. Just to give you an idea, one of the new towns will be the same size as Braintree. Within Halstead, there are 3 or 4 large housing developments underway, and planning permission has just been granted for another 70 off Oak Road, and another development for more than 200 houses to the north of Halstead, whilst brownfield sites ideal for development still remain unused. Just in the last 3 years, Halstead lost some old railway buildings to make way for a new Lidl supermarket, plus the protected trees were destroyed to make way for another large development on the south of the town. So the destruction of the countryside and our heritage continues today. This brings us to the piece of historical and ecologically important 4.5 acres of land in the centre of Halstead. The land slopes up from the southwest to the northeast and is, apart from the centre development, mostly a greenfield site, having been previously used as gardens, small fields and orchards. However, a number of air raid shelters occupy the southwest side of the site to the rear of Factory Terrace and Vicarage Meadow. Land to the rear of NatWest Bank, now a funeral directors, is flatter than elsewhere, possibly due to terracing, and is laid out as a garden. Several trees in the vicinity are included in a tree preservation order. Allotments were previously located along the south-east side of the site, but this, together with much of the site, is now overgrown. Existing hedgerows extend across the site, and there are a variety of trees in the south and west. The site is a special place, in the centre of the historic heart of Halstead, and this is reflected in the views from the north part where the site can be seen St Andrew's Church Tower. The main features of the site are the trees and hedges, the air raid shelters, the brick wartime building, small streams, the banks between old terracing. There is an old well near the centre, close to the Victorian Folly, remnants of old ponds south of the well, remains of brick steps between areas of terracing, old garden features. These features all refer to the previous land uses of the site. It seems probable that some of the air raid shelters at the rear of the factory terrace were included in their curtilage when they were listed, from their gardens being sold at a later date. The World War II air raid shelters fall into two distinct types: an underground type where there is a surprising quantity, and a single large above ground shelter. The below ground shelter appears as a long mound of earth with a sloping entrance at one end and an escape hatch at the other. Inside they can be seen to be of a modular panel construction, rounded sections of pre-fabricated concrete cemented together to form an arch. Tunnelling estimated to be 24 foot long by 6 foot 6 inches high. The large brick built surface shelter is rectangular in plan with a doorway entrance at each end. Inside there are two open rooms and two adjacent doorways which probably led to toilet cubicles. This type of shelter would have been designed to accommodate a large number of people. Very many